And we're taking you now to the UK. The historic Brexit legal challenge has drawn to a close with a reminder from the Supreme Court that it will not, quote, overturn the result of the EU referendum. The government presented its closing arguments on the final day of the case today, which will determine whether Parliament or ministers have the right to trigger Article 50 to leave the European Union. Our correspondent Jonathan Sacerdoti joins us now from London. Jonathan, what can we understand from today's closing arguments?
The closing arguments saw the end of that Supreme Court hearing, which was the government's appeal against the High Court judgment that they couldn't trigger Article 50 without a parliamentary vote, as had been the plan of Theresa May, the Prime Minister. Some are expecting the verdict of the Supreme Court judges to be the same, but we won't know until the middle of January exactly what it is they think. They've said they will try to decide as quickly as possible because they realise that there is some political urgency here if the government is to be able to trigger Article 50 by the end of March next year, as they are planning. But they need to deliberate, and this is the first time that all 11 Supreme Court justices have heard a case like this. So they will be deciding based on constitutional issues, not on the issues of whether or not Britain should leave the EU. That has been voted on in the referendum, and the President of the Supreme Court said that he is sure that they will honour that, but he is simply trying to decide with his colleagues exactly how that should be executed and whether it should be done with a vote of all members of Parliament.
So if all legal measures are met, how soon could Article 50 be triggered? You mentioned that the government is hoping to do it by next March. Could it happen even sooner than that?
Well, Theresa May promised by the end of March, and that's what she is sticking to at the moment. It is looking likely that that could be delayed if the judgment comes in during January and there are other complications. Perhaps there'll be some bargaining within the government and within the Parliament in general as to exactly what it is members of Parliament who are against the government plans want in order to be persuaded to vote in favour of triggering within that timeframe. They might say that they want more outlines of exactly what it is she's planning to do in negotiations. They might say that they want certain guarantees about the negotiating positions. And these are things that Mrs May has been very reluctant to promise because she believes that the strongest way for Britain to negotiate with the other member states is to not give away its hand at this stage in the game, to keep things quiet and private so that there is no doubt that they can go in with the strongest possible position when negotiating when that Article 50 finally is triggered.
Thank you, Jonathan, our London correspondent.